Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. This video I wanted to cover two things. One, which would be the second part, is a review of the Pegasus Hobby Camouflage netting. And the first part would be just to announce that I have a Twitter account now. And if you've been following me for a while now, you probably know that I'm not a social media hound. I've stayed away from social media as much as I could. And then my partner, she mentioned that maybe I should get my account secured before somebody else potentially could take it. So I said, fine. So I signed up. And actually, I've been posting to it fairly regularly. I try to put up a tweet or two every day, and I've even been adding a picture or two of some behind-the-scenes work that's been going on. So if you're interested in following me on Twitter, I'll put the Twitter link down below, but it's Mike at TerranScapes, and if you're interested, feel free to join me there. One caveat is that it's really a one-way street for me. Between emails and YouTube comments, I don't want to take on another sort of responding forum, so I'm not responding or to anybody's comments based on my tweets, and I'm not following anybody. I'm following one person, the missus. But other than that, I'm not following anybody. So this is basically a one-way delivery of information, but you might find it useful. So feel free to check that out if you're interested. So, second part is to talk about the Pegasus Hobbies camouflage netting. And you may remember that when I was doing the cliff project, I had the World War II bunkers along one of the sides, and I wanted to drape them in camouflage netting. And I was trying to come up with a wide variety of ways to do it. And at the end, when I was getting close to being finished, I got kind of panicky, and I said, whoa, well, let me at least order some of these, and that way I have something to fall back on. If I can't figure out a way that I like, I could order how many ever I need, and then I could use those. So once they came in, I realized it might be useful to talk about them, give you a look at them, and share a comparison between what I did and the materials I used, and the way the Pegasus Hobby camouflage netting looks in comparison and seems to be made from material-wise. So let's take a closer look, and I'll show you what I mean. So here you can see the Pegasus Hobbies camouflage netting. Comes in a cellophane bag, and I bought two. I wasn't really sure color-wise which one I would prefer. I think there is a third one for winter. Not too sure about that. When you open up the package, this is the other one that I opened up to take a look at it when I was getting ready to finalize that part of the project. You get material that is fairly decent in size. You're not going to try to camouflage a Titan with this, but hey, who's going to camouflage a Titan anyway? But I was sort of noticing, of course, that this is all dyed, so this has a very even color to it, and that the fibers are relatively, so you can see here that it will pull a little bit, which I'm not going to say is a problem, because I think sometimes it can add to the realism when it's a little bit more irregular. But I'll give you a quick little close-up here. I'm trying to learn the minimum focal distance for this camera lens. There you go. So it's a fairly tight weave, but the first thing that struck me when I took it out of the package and looked at it was that it looks a lot like the cheesecloth that I was already working with. So this is, let's slide these aside for here a second. This is the material that I was using on the cliff project. This was an extra piece that I had made and ended up not using. And I was actually using it double thick, and I thought that way it would actually afford a little bit more camouflage. Since it was going over concrete, I wanted to really try to give it a little bit more of an illusion that it was actually being covered up. So actually, wait a minute, I'll pull this apart so you can see a single ply. And you can see that the cheesecloth, let's see if I can get that at the right focal length. There we go. The cheesecloth I purchased has a larger weave. There's more space in between the cords, and there's also a bit of fuzz, like frayed fibers in between the cords. I didn't mind that, actually. I thought, again, it sort of adds to its camouflage capability, although, of course, in a sort of for realism, it doesn't quite match what you would see, and, of course, it would depend on the scale that you were using it at. With this tighter weave, it may be more appropriate for, you know, true 28 millimeter, whereas here, I was using it on 54, and really, I think, you know, the sort of heroic scale of Warhammer 40K, for instance, I think this would work well. So, quick explanation of how I did this. Basically, I airbrushed all of this with this base tan color. I probably could have dyed it, but I did try. My wife actually grabbed a piece and dunked it in some coffee. She was like, "Mike, it's really easy to just stain it. Here, give me a piece." And she ran upstairs, threw it in some coffee, and then pulled it out. And it was dyed actually pretty well. But once it was all wet, when you pull it apart, you know, you get more movement of the fibers. And of course, depending on how careful you are, would affect that. In any case, I decided to paint it with acrylic paint so that I could bond some of these fibers together. Because they were actually quite loose, a bit looser than this weave actually, and I didn't want them to move around too much. As I said, I don't mind a little movement. You know, see here you can see some irregularities, but I didn't want it getting all over the place. This is supposed to be a short review. To make a long story hopefully a bit shorter, then I just airbrushed in some green, and I will say it took me a while to airbrush this uniformly from all directions so that I wouldn't have any bare spots showing. So, what I think about the Pegasus Hobby netting compared to this, this is going to be phenomenally more expensive if you just look at, you know, per unit. I can't remember what the price of this is. I will look this up and I will put it right there. And, you know, you're getting a lot more cheesecloth. I have a giant roll. I have a lifetime supply now for your dollar, but it does require some do-it-yourselfing work. And one of the nice things is, of course, you're more flexible in how you paint it. But, you know, you could paint this with an airbrush or something like that if you really wanted to. I can't remember how many colors they have available. They might have a winter, I'm not sure, but these were the two colors that looked like, you know, were the most useful for that project. So that gives you an up-close look at the Pegasus Hobbies camouflage netting, as well as a quick look at some of the material and the technique that I used for the camouflage for the Cliff project. And if you have not seen the Cliff project and the World War II bunkers, you should go back in the video collection, and there is a playlist for the Cliff project, and you'll see that at the very end of that playlist, one of the last few videos. So that gives you a look at the Pegasus Hobbies camouflage netting, as well as a little insight into how I went about doing the netting for the Cliff project. And I guess my final assessment would be, if you are the do-it-yourselfer and you feel crafty, then I would recommend, you know, going the way of cheesecloth and making your own camouflage netting. And I think the potential is there for coming up with something even a little bit nicer. But if you are, you know, hobby strapped time-wise, like so many of us, and you're looking for something that will give you consistent results and is really easy to set up and just throw on vehicles or whatnot, then you might find the Pegasus Hobby camouflage netting fits you. And of course, it's the kind of thing that you could always, you know, airbrush on stripes or colors or something like that. So it's really going to be a kind of a personal choice on whether it's something that you'd be interested in. But I hope that you found some of this interesting, and I just want to thank everybody once again for watching and joining me on my video, and I'll see you again soon in another TerranScapes video. Okay, we'll let that ride.